It's a new day. Kings and queens on the rise. Undeniable. Everybody got guns, and everybody got sack, right? They make money off the culture, but they don't know what being black like. But it might get some black.
God's man. The one man on the beat. God's plan.
I wanna be.
For me.
I'm trying to be. Duval County. I was known for wildin', never known for styling. With that chrome, I'm spazzing out. On my buck for nothing, on the block I'm buzzing. How could God forgive a clown? Like killer bees, I'm buzzing. Hennessy, I'm struggling. Ain't no way to drink this high. How could God forgive me now? Could he ever use a clown?
I really wanna be God's man. I really wanna see God's plan. I know it's more for me, Lord knows, let me be everything you want from me. Hey. I keep on trying. I don't wanna lie, Lord. I don't wanna let you down. And every day I get on my knees and pray for the pain to go away. And then you do it. Renew me like I never blew it, like it's nothing really to it. I always end up with the God hand. And when I'm walking through the door, they know I'm God's man, yeah.
Man up, I'm coming.
Yup.
Sun up, I'm running. Turn up, still humming. Your baby
there we go.
His daddy. What's funny?
Y'all do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Can't blame it on the women. That's so pitiful. And I ain't shooting at your boys on subliminal.
You can hear me now.
All black in the bushes. I was criminal apostle.
All right.
I really wanna be.
Do me a favor while you men, while you women are coming in. I really need you to tag the brothers in here. Tag my brothers in here. Tag my brothers in here tonight. Tag my brothers in here tonight. Do me a favor.
Everything you want from me, yeah.
Do me a favor. Tag them in here tonight. Definitely got some things on my heart. Definitely got some things on my heart. Apostle, I can't. Okay, you can hear me now. And y'all know that that's the God Man on Deck. That's my theme. That's the theme music. I'm going to let it ride some more because I really want to talk with you guys tonight. It's Friday night. Normally don't come on a Friday night, but I was working out and I had so much that I was thinking about and things that were on my mind and I wanted to share. I just really, really wanted to get on here and I really wanted to share and just talk about it. For some of you, I want you to tag some brother's name in here. Please, I need you to do that. If you're looking at my subject title has Revival of Manhood. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna explain that. Talk about that. I got also in there In My Feelings on there and SOS. Save our sons. And so I want you guys to really be a part of that conversation tonight. I'm hoping that I reach somebody that I hadn't reached before, and that somebody sees this as Apostle Fred Gooden, God's Man on Deck. Apostle Fred Gooden, God's Man on Deck. Pastor, one of the pastors of Unity Charlotte International, along with my beautiful wife Jamila Gooden. And I want you guys to definitely be a part of this conversation tonight. Getting ready to switch gears a little bit. Listen, I was just I was down in the gym and I was just listening to some music and so many things came to my mind. So many things came to my mind, right? I begin to think about myself. I begin to think about the past. I begin and this again, for some of you may not know who I am. This is Apostle Fred Gooden, God's man on deck. Had a brief conversation with my bishop, and we're getting ready for a men's conference. It's coming here. Actually, the Highway Church is bringing a men's conference to Charlotte. The Highway Church is their men's conference, but I will be in it, and we will be hosting it at Unity Charlotte International. We'll be hosting it in September. I'll put up the flyer after I do the broadcast tonight. I'll put the flyer up. I want you guys to be a part of it. If you're anywhere near Charlotte, I want you to come out and be a part of this men's conference. Of course, we're in a time where, as a man is almost an endangered species. That's right. I said it. A man, especially a masculine man, is almost an endangered species. And for us and for our sons, it's a very dangerous and difficult time. But I'm really kind of want to go back before I go forward. And I begin to just I was thinking about my past, and, thinking about, myself, and how I grew up. Who were the influences in my life? Man, and when I say in my feelings so much, I begin to think about my friends. I don't know about you, but I thank God for where I am. I absolutely I thank God. Let me get this. I absolutely thank God for where I am, but I always think about my homeboys, especially ones that are not here right now. I think about he was my stepbrother, my brother. I put a post up, and folk thought that he had recently passed, and he didn't. I was just memorializing his memory, because his birthday came up. Lewis Brown, my stepbrother, he was my stepbrother, but he was more like a real brother. He was more like a blood brother. He was one of the guys that grew up with me. Benaja Douglas, his name is, he went by Smokey. And his brother Antonio Douglas, all of us, we had Mike and their little brother Sean, baby, and so many others that were part of. We grew up in University Plaza, Davis Street area, in Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County. And all of us, grew up, and people don't know where gangs come from. Now we were never an official gang. We were never a Blood or Crips or anything like that. And not to make even fun of that, because I'm on here today, I'm talking about brothers, period. I don't care whether you a Christian brother. I don't care whether you're a Muslim brother. I don't care whether you're a Hebrew Israelite brother. I don't care whether you are blood. I don't care about you a Crip. I don't care about any of that. Sometimes we can get so caught up on ideology and the things that we believe and the things that separate us, that we can't never bring ourselves together and bring our sons together, because we have so much we want to boast in our separation before we bring it together. Let's leave that out the way right now, because we got too much stuff going on. And anyway, I begin to think about, God bless the dead. The rest in peace to Lewis, rest in peace to Smokey, rest in peace to Antonio, rest in peace to them, and rest in peace to another one of my homeboys. Love him so much. One of my homeboys, Sydney, and all of us, and he went by Sid. He was from the West Side, and all of us came together. We bridged together, and we were family. No matter what brought us together as young men, we were family. And man, I just begin to, I was listening to some music, and I was thinking about the fact that they never really got a chance to grow into true manhood, right? Like I can say Lewis did, but the rest of them really didn't have a chance to grow into true manhood and to become, and to even, because I know even myself right now, even preaching the gospel for years and still I'm still coming into so many places and discovering who I am. Still discovering who I am. And so many of us, those names that I mentioned, those guys that still love Fred, that are in Duval County, those guys that still count me a friend, that still count, and I'm not talking about the preacher. And so many times, that's the reason why, and a lot of times I do walk by myself, because I look for genuine. Coming up at that age, none of us had a father, man. Like, I'm looking back, and that's why I got in the caption, "Save our sons," and I got in the caption, I'm in my feelings. I can do that. I can, because when I think about, first I think about the goodness of God, and that He really did not have to, man. When I think about, He really didn't have to save me, because I really didn't have anyone around me when it comes to an adult male that really gave us game, or really they didn't even try to give us game. We just kind of learned from what we were seeing, but we didn't have any men. Like, we didn't have, and I look back at all of us, we didn't really have any men that really just came and tried to share life with us. Not tried to share the dope game with us, not tried to share the hustle with us, not tried to share, about women or getting women or none of that foolishness. I'm talking about we didn't really have. And when I look back at us as a group of men, none of us, like, when I'm looking at my brothers, man, ain't none of us had a daddy at the house. I mean, for real. And the men that were at the house, they ain't caring nothing about us, and so, man, the way that we grew into manhood, and that's the reason why I have revival of manhood. Shout out to my wife for that thought. And this is not just for the men tonight, but this is also a cry out for the mothers, man. For there's so many mothers, and to my sons, shout out to our sons, Fred and Dewan and Hunter. I do the best I can as a father. I do the best I can, because I know what it is to have no man in the house, and if to have a man in the house but really not have an example. And to be honest, the man that was in the house never had a man, so he really didn't know what to share. And I get discouraged, man. I get discouraged when I think about what a young man has to go up through now, because when I look back on our neighborhood, when I look back at Lackawanna, when I look back at Davis Street, when I look back at Duval County, when I look back at all of these places that formed the man that you now see. I mean, we can say what we want to say, but you just don't become who you become because you picked up a Bible and read it and you become a new creature. That's real good. That sounds real churchy, but those things that bred you was some of the things that, and broke you was some of the things that made you who you are. And when I look back at all of those times, and I look back, it's a lot of young men out here that's struggling, and they struggling and don't even know why they struggling. They have no idea how to walk in the real manhood. And then don't let them really meet somebody that's whole. They don't know how to handle it, because to them, they're whole. Our men's ministry, we have a scripture for our men's ministry. And our scripture for our men's ministry is Ezekiel. And it's Ezekiel 22:30. I want to read it for you. And it says, "And I sought for a man among them that shall make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me and for the land, that I shall not destroy it, but I found none." And we're still in this time, and that's why this scripture is so important. But the encouragement is in when you hear our men, we begin to say, "I'm that man. I'm that man that's going to stand in the gap. I'm that man that's going to stand up the hedge. I'm that man that's going to pray. I'm that man that's not going to try to put aside a brother or make a brother feel small. I'm going to do what I have to do to become an encouragement. And it's crucial right now for our sons, because our sons don't have anybody. And let me be honest, I try my best to stay ecumenical. I try my best to stay what's the right word to use? I try to look out for everybody. So I'm a man that I ain't gonna never fight people about your sexual orientation. But don't get mad at me for mine either. I'm not gonna never fight you for your preference, or I'm never gonna get up there and preach about none of that, because for me, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time for that. But don't try to bully me about mine. Don't try to come against me for mine and for what I think and for the way that I feel about my sons and for the way I feel about my brothers and for the way I feel about men in general. And that there got to be kings that do raise up, and there have to be men that do raise up. And there got to be men that still raise families and men that become fathers and grandfathers. Don't try to come against me for that either. You understand? Because what's going on right now, there needs to be a revival of manhood. It's almost like there's a fight now to just try to be, because even I notice even on the reels when you talk about masculinity, there's so much back talk, and when you talk about just being a man, there's so much back talk, and there's so many comments, and everybody has a freedom now to jump in the comment section and make it about them. And what I'm saying right now, this is Apostle Fred Gooden, God's man on deck, that this is not about you. This is about, and what I'm going to be driving, the points I'm going to be making in conferences, that people that invite me to their men's conferences and do allow me to speak, and the podcast that I do, the lives that I do, when I speak about these things, don't get mad because my preference is a woman. Don't get mad with me because my preference is a woman. Don't get angry with me because I ain't getting angry with you about yours. Don't get angry with me because I'm driving the point that there still has to be kings that rise up. There still got to be men that rise up. Don't be mad at me because I don't make it about your community and the things that go on with you. This ain't about you. This ain't for you. This is about, man, I have a responsibility as a man. I feel I got a responsibility, just like I drive it into our sons, Fred, D.I., Dewan, and Hunter. I got to drive it into every man that comes in contact with me. I got to be an express image the best way I can be. And yes, a lot of, especially when I look back and I look at the past and I look at brothers that are now gone. They're not even here. They didn't even get a chance to find out what being a real man was about, because they died in these streets. We and my wife and myself, we was looking at the series on Netflix, Painkiller. And Painkiller is about an opioid addiction, about Oxycontin. And they were talking about the epidemic and how all these people got killed. But you know what they didn't talk about? You know what wasn't inside that pain? You know what didn't come up in there? Now, they had one case, I got to admit, they had the black lady that played the role as a lawyer for the government, had a brother that was locked up for the same reason that corporate America that were driving this thing about Oxycontin that no one ever went to jail about. But you know what my point is? I got so many brothers that went to the penitentiary, so many brothers that's still in the penitentiary. They in the penitentiary for cocaine. They in the penitentiary for crack. They in the penitentiary. They're in the penitentiary for marijuana. They're in the penitentiary for the same things, that are now being made legal or were made legal in the corporate way. And so we in this fight, man, as men. As black men, we in the fight. And when I'm telling you, man, I'm telling some of you out there that got different preferences and you got different community, man, let me do what I do. Let me drive this campaign from men that want wives, from men that want to build families, from men that want to build community, from men that still want to be grandfathers, fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, that want to leave a legacy. Don't please do what you do, because you'll never hear me coming after you. But don't try to bully me, because if you try to bully me, you're going to see a different side of me. If you try to bully me, you're going to see a different side of me. So I ain't going to be up there. I'm not going to be up there saying all kind of wild stuff and on reels and trying to embarrass people and saying stupid stuff, but stay out my lane is what I'm saying. Because this is everything that Apostle Fred Good and God's Man on Deck that I talk about, whether it be about men or whether it be about the kingdom, it's what I feel genuinely in here. And there's too many men that don't have a place. And now we got young men coming up that have no identity. They have no identity because they coming up in the same situation that I came up in, with no man being in the house. And so they're looking out and they're going through these emotions and they have nobody to talk to. And they go through them by themselves. And some of them make it through these emotions and some of them don't. So now we got our young men that are coming up and now they got addictions, and they got different addictions than we had. When we were coming up, we ain't deal with no pills. Our man, and listen, let me tell some of y'all rappers something, man. Y'all ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be, and this is how it is. And let me say this again. Apostle Fred Good and God's Man on Deck. Let me say this again. This ain't about being, when I talk about men, this ain't about you being a Christian, 5%er, Hebrew Israelite, a Muslim. I'm talking about men. Get with that first. Lord, let's come together as men first. Even when in these conferences, I get a little disappointment, and I'm gonna go back to my thought. I get a little disappointed in these conferences because they're so Bible driven, but you got to catch a fish before you can clean it. I was talking to somebody about a conference, and they wanted to make it. They want to talk about all the scriptures, and we want to make it. And if a man got a Bible, he's holy. I get all of that. I'm a man of God. I get that. I live in the Bible. I read it, but I also understood God. I also understand the streets. I also understand what it means to be fatherless. I also understand what it means to be looking at 30 and don't know if you're going to make it. I know what it means to be 20, 27 years old and looking at 30 and you don't even know if you finna make 30. So I can't always be, for some of you preachers, so biblical. We gotta catch these boys. How do you catch them? And you can't catch them the way some of y'all men want to catch them. We're dealing with a different generation now. Y'all looking at them crazy because of their hair. You're looking at them crazy because of their tattoos. I know you're looking at them crazy because they look at me crazy about mine. We're dealing with young men now. And again, let me tell some of y'all rappers something. And this real. And even for some of y'all rappers that's coming up now, man, I love hip-hop music. First, let me say, I love hip-hop music. I don't just love Christian hip-hop. I love hip-hop. I love hip-hop music. But you know what I don't like? You know what I don't like about this generation of hip-hop? I don't like the encouragement of the wrong type of drugs. Now let me say this. I'm an advocate. I am an advocate for being clean. I'm an advocate for abstinence. But I ain't got to worry about my son going to rob a store if he smoked a J. I ain't got to worry about my son going to stick up something if he smoked a J. I advocate for abstinence, but I need y'all to hear me in here. But when our sons start taking on Percocets and you dumb rappers, I know you don't like it, but I'm going to say it how I'm going to say it because I need you to hear it. It might help. Stop telling them about popping perks and you popping this and you popping that. Man, we ain't come up with that. We ain't come up with that stuff right there. Our generation, we ain't mess with no pills and all this old type of stuff. And the stuff that they got going on now, we got our young men losing their mind because they fighting stuff. They fighting addictions that we ain't never had to fight. And they ain't got no daddy in the house. And the police is out to get them every time they walk out the door. It don't matter whether they're from the suburbs or not. If they black, they got a target on their back. Bars. Didn't mean to make it, but it came out just like that. So this what it is. This is what this is. We need a revival of manhood. It means that if you are halfway decent, man, each one teach one, man. Talk to the young men around you. Say something. You know what I'm saying? Don't be intimidated by them. You ain't got to buck up. One thing I learned, and I learned this from my own son. My son start getting big. I mean, he got bulky around the age of 15. I wasn't finna try to whoop him no more. I wasn't finna try to, I used to paddle my boys. That's how I did that. I ain't finna try to paddle him no more. I had to talk to him because at a certain age, he is taking on man qualities. And if you challenge him wrong, he gonna buck up against you. So there's some things that I stopped doing because I wanted to be able to get to his mind, and I couldn't get to his mind trying to show how bad I am. And some of you men, you got to stand up now. We are becoming extinct. Every commercial I see, everything on TV, everything I see, the black man and the man is becoming extinct. And if there's no one to stand up and to begin to say that there is an importance in you being a man, there's an importance in you being a father, there's an importance in you being a husband, and then showing other men instead of encouraging them when you start talking to another man about relationship, showing him how to be a husband and a father. The one thing that the enemy is rejoicing in right now is tearing up the family unit. Tearing that family unit up. So now there's nothing to look at. And I'm telling you right now, everything I do, especially if I'm called to preach a men's conference, expect me to do that. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm going to say it anyway. I asked somebody to come and preach for us at a men's conference. And you know what they did? They preached everything else. We'll have a conference, but won't treat it the same way. Won't treat it the same way we treat the church, because even in that time, because we see, and this is not offensive to women, even though it's full of women, we still ain't gonna minister to them. So when you got men that don't want to minister to men or take up for other men or even take time with men, man, we in trouble. We in trouble. When you invite somebody and they see the crowd, oh boy, look at all these people, and but to be honest, I don't think a lot of times they know what to say. I don't think they know what to say. So they just give 3 points in the poem and they keep it moving. This thing is real though. There needs to be a revival of manhood. That means that every brother, our deacons ministry right now. I got my deacons ministry right now meditating. I got them meditating on Ezekiel 22 and 30. I got them meditating on it. I got them memorizing it. And I got and what they are to say, they're gonna memorize the scripture. They're gonna say the scripture, and after they say the scripture, they're gonna shout out in one voice and say, "I'm that man." The reason why I'm driving that like that, because I want to build in them that they have everything they need to not just to be a husband and not just to be a father, but to be a grandfather, but that can build, live, leave a legacy. It has to be. Because our sons are dying. We still loading up the prison. Now we ain't loading up the prison. Now our sons are losing their identity. Why they losing their identity? Because they don't have a man that they can identify with. They don't have that. And we got to do something. We got to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something in my community. I'm going to do something with my influence. I'm going to do something on here. As the Lord deal with me with subjects, I'm going to deal with subjects on here. And I got all kinds of subjects I want to deal with. I want to deal with the fact, like I was talking about today, I want to deal with childhood. Because yeah, all of us got the boys in the hood story. True, we got the boys in the hood story. Sad thing, it still ain't changed. It's still relevant. Saddest thing, it may always be relevant, but it ain't got to be relevant around you. It ain't got to be relevant in your world. There's some things that we got to do different. First, we got to do is we got to stand up, though. Stop making it about everybody else. I think the first thing that men have to do, and I'm talking to you men tonight. I think the first thing that we got to do is stop worrying about these other groups. Stop worrying about them. You ain't going to be able to change these people. You ain't going to be able to change their preference. You ain't going to be able to change their mind. You ain't going to be able to change nothing around them. If God don't do it, then it can't be done. So stop worrying about them. Let them people live their life. Let them people do what they do. God is the judge. But what we got to do is we got to grab hold of the ones that are looking. You can see it in some of their eyes. Some of these young men, you can see it. You can see their want and their need for some man to speak something positive to them. And so there gotta be some change. There's gotta be something that's done with that. And I'm that man. I need y'all to put that in your caption. I'm that man. Ezekiel 22:30. I'm that man. I'm talking to these men tonight. I'm not talking to you. And listen, thank God for these. I want to thank God for the mothers that raise sons. But mama, you can't be no daddy. And I know, they got it. They got it now, and I understand because I could have wrote a card. I could have wrote a Father's Day card and gave it to my mama because I'm the same way. But the fact of the matter is, I still had to learn how to be a man through the channels and the systems of this world, and all of them wasn't good. All of them was not good. All of them wasn't great. And even now being 52, I'm still looking at areas and I'm like, man, if I had a man to tell me this and I had a man to tell me that, and I had a man to tell me this. And sometimes, and I'm just being honest, brothers, sometimes the world that I'm in, I come in contact with men that were raised by fathers and that had that man in the house. And I could see the difference. I mean, when I say I can see the difference, I can see the way that they talk. I can see their mindsets. I can see the difference. And I can see in some of those places that are empty or some of those places that had not grown in me, they didn't already matured in. Because they had somebody. And for some of you ignorant people, that's T. They had somebody. They had somebody that was there. But you fathers, I need to encourage you tonight. I want to encourage you tonight. Make a difference. I want to encourage you tonight. And yeah, it's we started with what we do. We started with what we do in our churches. We started with what we do in our community. We started with I don't care if it ain't up but 2 of y'all, 3 of y'all, 4 of y'all. I need y'all brothers to put inside the caption Ezekiel 22:30. I'm that man. Because as you start confessing that, you will become that. I'm that man. It don't mean that you perfect, But it means that, you know what, man, I'm finna start worrying about all this other stuff. When I'm talking to brothers now, listen, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe that he lived, that he died, and he rose on the third day. But the conversation that I need to have to this young man that's tattered up, that's facing prison, that's drug addicted, that's not the conversation. That's not the first conversation I need to have with him. I need to talk to this. When I got to talk to this young man, and I can see death in his eyes. Literally, when you done been out there, there's a look in the eyes that you can see the violence, the darkness, and you can see the death. There's certain young men that I come in contact with, I already know that either they're a killer or they're getting ready to be one. So we got to do is we got to catch them. It's the first thing that we got to do. Y'all men that's in there, David Riley right now, I want to acknowledge some of these men. Dennis, I see you. Devin, I see you. I want to thank B. Charles Brown, I see you. I want y'all ladies, do me a favor, tag some men in this, make sure that they get this. Let's stop worrying about all this other stuff that's going on. It's a distraction. Stop worrying about what they're doing in the community, man. Y'all let them do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Let them do what they want to do, but let's build men. Now I won't be bullied. I'm gonna say that again. I mean it. I mean what I say. I'm not finna be bullied. I'm not finna go to going overboard, telling people I love you, but I don't love the sin. I'm that. No, that ain't got nothing to do with me. You have a God, and whatever I think don't matter. None of that matters, because all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Every man has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So none of that matters. But what does matter is that at the end of the day, I make sure that I affect some kings' lives that want queens, real queens, kings and queens, that I affect some lives of so there can be there's a generational group, and that people, I want to affect those people, those men. And we got to do that. How do we do that? We do that first by talking to our community. This is what it is, man. This is what it is.
Just K Music.
This is what it is. Marcellus Lewis. Listen, I'm getting ready to go. I love you, brothers. And we got a serious work to do. We still got too many sad songs. There's still too many videos of us getting gunned down. There's still too many of us going to prison. There's still too many of us that are drug addicted. There's still too many of us. And you know what? I know a lot of preachers. And I thank God for the men of God that I do know. I thank God for the men of God that I do know. I thank God for the men of God that do take this seriously. I thank God for you. But it's got to be more of us that stand up and make this more important than what it is. You understand? Don't get on no bandwagon fighting distractions, man. If we concentrate on building what we're supposed to build, then we won't get distracted. It was one thing about Nehemiah, and when he was dealing with Sanballat and Tobiah, they kept trying to get him to come down. Come down. He said, man, why should I come down? Don't go down trying and being distracted by stuff that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It said that they built the wall, and say they built the wall, and they had mortar and brick. They were building and putting mortar and brick with mortar and brick in one hand and a sword in another. They were ready to fight, but they were building. We got to build now. So I'm getting ready to go in September. I'm gonna put the flyer up. We got a men's conference coming to Charlotte. And it is the Highway Church. It is the Highway Church. Their fellowship, their men's fellowship, is coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, and it will be housed. The conference will be, the men's conference for those 3 days will be at Unity Charlotte International. I will be one of the speakers that's there, and I will be no holds barred. And a lot of time when I get on here from now on, it will be no holds barred. and we just got to deal with it. We got to deal with it. Save our sons. Too many stories. All right. I'm getting ready to get out of here. I want to say a prayer. I want to say a prayer for our sons. Father, I thank you right now. I thank you for every mother that is raising a son. Every mother right now that's raising a son and they don't have a father that's in the picture. The father's nowhere around, doesn't even care. I pray, Father, that you would give her the wisdom, but I pray that a tribe would begin to come around her. I pray that you would bring men from around, bring influences that could help. And even if she doesn't normally even see him, I pray right now that you would begin to bring men around that young man and help him to become what he needs to become. I thank you for the strength that you've given these single mothers. I thank you for the strength. I pray right now for the young men that's out there. Too many young men that are being swallowed up by the system, that's being swallowed up with bad mindsets. And I pray right now, God, that you would begin to turn the tides, turn it around, God. I pray right now that I begin to hear testimonies. Thank you right now, God, for the groups that are doing something, God, but I thank you for where we're going at. I thank you right now for your word, your power, and your strength. Thank you right now, God, and for what you're going to do for every miracle and for every son and for everybody that's getting ready to be touched. All right. Again, turn it around. And y'all go, I want you to encourage somebody. Do me a favor. Share this tonight. Share this tonight. You're going to be seeing this a lot. Revival of ManHood. And I got capital MAN, capital HOOD. ManHood. Just like that, because there's too many of us that have been decapitated, meaning our head been cut off, and we have been incapacitated because of the way we grew up. But God, I believe that God is going to raise up kings that can stand before families and be husbands and be fathers and be leaders, and that can make an influence, because our sons have to stop dying to the system. And we need men that can be an example of what manhood looks like. Not toxic, but masculinity that is whole. All right. Apostle Fred Gooden, God's Man on Deck. We thank God for you. Again, I'll be putting the flyer up. I want to thank God for every deacon, every man that's standing with me. I want to thank God for it. Get ready for what you're going to see, because we're going to be doing stuff in the Charlotte area. We're going to be outside, as they say. We're going to be outside, and we're going to be driving this bus, because there has to be a change. I don't care where you are. Make a change. Ezekiel 22:30. I sought for a man. We need you to become that man. All right. God bless you all. You that are on Facebook, God